This is things you might have heard for the 15th of July, this Tuesday, I should say. And yes, it's Cuomo, Elmo, and Kirk. We're talking some Andrew Cuomo, who's ain't going away. Elmo, who some people may wish may go away for a little bit. And Charlie Kirk, who's going to stop talking about that guy that went away, that people want to talk about, that they don't want to go away, but you're not talking about it because Donald Trump. Plus, 5 other stories that are conversational, deemed by you guys in the conversation with our interaction with our feeds, and of course just chit-chatting back and forth. I'll remind you right now, our website home is conversationproject.com. We're trying to get things back on track. Like if you've been following along here, we're in a sort of a weird hiatus thought, so everything doesn't work quite as well. If you're new here, bear with us. It'll get better. Stop by our website, conversationproject.com, for more details on how we got to be doing this thing here. And also by checking out our links to our sponsors page and our sponsors page for more of those. One sponsor we're spotlighting today is going to be Ground News. Visit them and get 40% off the Vantage plan and all their news plans. Get better news in your feed by going to Ground News. Let's get into the stories, 8 of them for this morning. You will agree to disagree on a good bit of them because these are the ones that are conversational. So says you and other people who you may disagree with. Words still affect. Kick it off with Andrew Cuomo, who is now still in the race for the New York City mayorship. The former governor of the state is going to still try to be the mayor of the state, run against Mandami, run against Adams, run against Siwa, who's not in this picture because no one really thinks he has a chance, is right now looking like a split between Adams and Cuomo, giving Mandami the chance to win the presidency and for, all hell to freeze over in New York City and the world. Of course, Cuomo resigned from his job as the governor in 2021, doing a fairly good job with COVID until he wasn't. But what really took him down was a sexual affair scandal, a sexual harassment thing, which basically takes us all down, if you will. That's what really ended his actual life in politics. Now he's on his way back to the way. They were looking at him as being the next presidential candidate because COVID was going so well until it wasn't. And then the reality of being a politician in New York basically came to fruition. So right now it's a 4-way race. 3 people who have actual chance of really winning this thing are right there on the picture on the screen. The problem is 2 on the sides will give this guy in the middle a better chance of winning in the end. Interesting story. And all the back and forth going on. This is one that literally got missed. Not something that I barely saw, and I put it out there, and it seems legit, seems real, because not everyone gets disappeared in the Trump administration by Trump. Some people just leave. And with this, 2/3 of the DOJ teams that are defending Trump's policies going to court to say, yes, Mr. Trump is doing right things, they've actually resigned. A majority Department of Justice attorneys have actually left because being tasked with defending Trump-era policies has been way too much for them. Sources say internal frustrations over political pressure and legal ethics are playing a major role in their decisions. They just can't do this no more. Departures are delayed by multiple ongoing cases tied to immigration. So take some time to pull yourself out of things, get yourself unassigned, get things reassigned. So there's not like a mass resignation, but a trickle effect of people leaving, including some DOJ leadership that's been there for a while, is showing that it's an issue. And so far, DOJ leadership is not really explaining what's happening very well as well. One of those policies that needs to be defended that won't have very good defense, although maybe McMahon has some lawyers in her pocket to fix this, is the states, 14 of them, which are suing the federal government over Donald Trump's decision to pause $6 billion in education funding. This funding was pretty much needed in general, but needed for the summer. Summer programs that would be going on right now are facing some serious issues because Trump pulled the funding literally right out of their hands at the last minute. Trump administration argues the delay is necessary to audit waste and inefficiency in spending, but the critics say we kind of need these things for summer programs so the kids can get some learning, some schooling, and some eating, because the parents who don't pay for daycare throughout the majority of the year can't pay for daycare through the summer. So summer programs help fill that gap and give kids something to keep them from, playing video games and goofing around all day. Something that's said. We'll see how this one plays out. And of course, based on the last story, who will defend the Trump administration with these terms? We will talk Epstein slightly. 2 stories that deal with Epstein today. We'll delve deeper into it because this is a story that is really complex and not going away. But we're talking about specifically Elmo and X, and maybe a little inside job from Elon Musk. We won't necessarily let that conspiracy theory go away. But the official X account for Elmo Elmo the Muppet, was hacked over the weekend. And for the weekend, much expletives, much racist content, and a whole lot of Epstein didn't off himself. The Sesame Workshop confirmed the breach and condemned the post, saying efforts are underway to get in control. The last story we had didn't have them under control. I think by now they do, and they're trying to clean things up. The account has millions of followers because they love it. And, being a Muppet, he being a nonprofit, he's not in it for greed and money. He's in it to make people feel good about themselves. People love Elmo. On the flip side of that one, I follow at least 3 different Elmos on TikTok. And those Elmos are not the real Elmo. And I understand they're not the real Elmos because what they're doing is using Elmo voices and Elmo puppets and making funny, very blatantly, very bad parody stuff on Elmo, basically cussing people out and telling people to get over themselves, which is funny as a parody, but not when the real thing. Parents and fans are expressing shock and concern over how long the content remained live, why Donald Trump couldn't just hit the switch, why Elon Musk can just flip a switch and say, oh, this is obviously bad and fix it. Maybe his CEO could have done it if she would not have left last week. Quick pause from the news stories. 4 more to go, but we want you to help us keep growing here. Yes, I apologize for things not being consistent because life is not that consistent these days behind the scenes for Jay Cleveland and the Conversation Project. But we're trying to do our best to get something that's more or less a standard to go for in a bit. And hopefully this will become the standard. The more pithy version, the more fast version, the more freeing version of things you might have heard. So like the video you're watching here or any of our content so that the algorithms will share it with more folks. Share it directly with other folks as well because you're sharing it directly with other folks. More people engaged in our conversations, the better conversations we will have. And if you're not subscribed to our big dealio, please join in on the fun. This is on YouTube. We also have our feeds on X and on Facebook, so you can follow along all day long with the stories that we are vetting through you all day long. And of course, we hit the big number, 200,000 or 200, that'd be nice, 2,300 subscribers on the YouTube. Thank you so much for getting us there. One step closer to silver play button. Very slow steps to silver play button. We're working to get there. You can help us get there as well. Like, share, and subscribe so that we can grow together in our News Nerd Nation. Let's go to a really troubling story in the background. This is another story that probably got missed completely by what's happening out there in the world. A retired Army officer has pled guilty to sharing classified war information on a dating site. An intelligence officer from the Army has pleaded guilty, leaking classified war-related information on dating sites. Prosecutors say he shared tactical data about troop movements and strategic objectives during a casual conversation online. Just chit-chatting, want to know stuff about what's going on. Hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I work as a spy. I know where the troops are moving here or there for the past 10 years. And he's facing 10 more years, 10 years in federal prison with the sentence scheduled later this year for this one. He believed he was communicating with a romantic interest and not a foreign agent. Case reignites concerns about national security and vulnerabilities in the digital age. Essentially, people being really stupid. Really stupid. I'm going to pause on that comment because I personally don't have love for these two commentators, Craig Carton and Emmanuel Acho. And I have, my own little beef with them that they don't care about because they're obviously much more successful than I am in their endeavors. However, their success hits a pause at the moment as Fox Sports 1 has abruptly canceled the shows that are hosted by Craig Carton and Emmanuel Acho with a strategic realignment of their work. Carlton's exit is especially notable given his recent return to television after serious legal issues to get him back on the screen. Of course, Acho is known for the series called Uncomfortable Conversation with a Black Man, building a strong audience outside the sports world and a little bit of beef with some folks as well. FS1 has not announced the replacement shows, the replacement people, but they're going to go focus on expanded live coverage and new programming. That means probably sports. Back in the 90s, a lot of the sports coverage before everything was talking heads all day was a lot of filler stuff, a lot of old stuff, a lot of wrestling. A lot of wrestling from the 70s and 80s was on TV when I got home from school and home from class in college because they had to fill it with something for the ESPNs. Before they had, ping pong balls and flipping bottles and things like that as well. Godspeed, good luck to these two guys because as much as I may not like them in a professional sense, which there's those things, like I said, they're much more successful than I am. I hate it when anybody loses a gig because it means it's one less chance for me to get a gig someplace. especially. So Ocho and Carlton will find some place on their feet somewhere. Good looking guys and good guys in the industry. Someone will pick them up someplace to get something going forward. We will see them soon. We're unfortunately not getting rid of them that easily, I guess. We're not getting rid of Hootie that easily either, but he did have to shell out a little bit of cash after struggling through a concert in Atlantic City. He offered full refunds to fans after he cut short a gig in Atlantic City due to strain on his vocal cords. The country singer and Hootie and Blowfish frontman apologized publicly, saying he was gutted by the performance. Fans reported that he was visibly distressed and struggled to actually hit any notes in the set, let alone the good ones. He promised to reschedule the show for that town and honor all tickets there as well. Tour dates later in the month are under review by this team because apparently Hootie is tired. So give Hootie some time to rest. This is a guy that I've loved since college. I could not got through college without him. In fact, a prank they played on me at the college radio station was they transferred my profile page to the Hootie and Blowfish page for about 3 weeks until somebody noticed it because they could. But we say Godspeed and well rest to Mr. Darius Rucker, who I joked about my future ex-wives clubs. Darius Rucker happens to be on my wife's future ex-husband club. So if you see him in town, give me some heads up so I can take care of that one. Taking care of other business is Donald Trump, the president of the United States, who talked to Charlie Kirk, who wanted to talk about the Epstein files, wanted to discuss Epstein, figure out how come we have no actual resolution. Where is the list? Why aren't we opening this thing up? Then he took a phone call from Mr. Trump, and Mr. Kirk has said, you know what? I'm done talking about the Epstein files. That's how it works. Kirk previously hinted at some unanswered questions about the Epstein network, who he worked with, who was around him, who was there. But the pivot happened suddenly and is raising eyebrows, including maybe not his very big eyebrows, about what was said, what got to them, and what's being put forth or not put forth, to be exact. Now, the rumors in the window is that maybe there's some actual Trump stuff in the actual files that after further review, they decided was not all that innocent. And so now that Trump's in charge, they're holding it back. But the problem is, if that were the case, why would the Biden administration hold it back? And the problem is, if that were the case, why would anybody hold it back? And it's probably because the most simplest answer is, we have all the public information. We have all the data. We have everything you can pull to it. There is no smoking gun conspiracy theory lines on boards that direct to an actual conspiracy like Epstein was running this big criminal network. He was a bad dude, and he had a lot of money and power, and he could influence things going forward. But that doesn't mean he was a shadow puppet government person running things behind the scenes, at least not at the time when he was, running things behind the scenes. Charlie Kirk apparently came to his senses. Wink, wink, nod, nod, because Donald Trump says this is not worth talking about. The problem is many folks who follow Donald Trump say, oh, yeah, this is so worth talking about. We don't want this to end. We'll see if Charlie Kirk has any backlash going forward or anyone else who's still talking it up in the future is going to find any fallout from their actions. If you want to find out fallout from all the actions going out there in the news world, you can do it yourself by going to Ground News. Use our link. This is a conversationproject.com/ground news. And you use that link, you can get a chance to get 40% off all of their news plans, including their Vantage plan, which is their big plan, the plan that gives you all the marbles, all the cheese, all the things you want in news, and maybe some things you don't want, because if you're a siloed person, you may find that you're opening a Pandora's box of things that you've never seen before. Literally, you go to a news story, whether it's local, whether it's national, whether it's an international story on Ground News, it aggregates news stories from all around the places and gives you the links to all the places, what the right's showing, what the left's showing, what's showing more or less in the middle, and tells you more about those sources, who follows them, who owns them, who funds them, who likes them, going back and forth. So you can get a truer adjustment of who's doing what, who's doing where, who's doing it for whom, if you will, by checking out news stories. In fact, their blind spot feature, which is an awesome feature we pull up every so often, will show you what stories are not being covered by certain genres in the genre. So if you're a Fox News lover and you're not seeing certain stories, you can see what the left are showing. If you're MSNBC's lover and you're not seeing certain stories, you can see what they're showing. Excuse me. Fall in love with the news again, or fall in hate with the guys who hate in the news again by getting the pure form of what's happening from news stories and news providers with ground news. And again, we want you to use our link because we get a small commission for you using our link. This is conversationproject.com/ground news. Visit our website for more partnerships to see how you can go join up with us directly, and more sponsorships, and seeing how you can find other sponsors to help you out. But right now, we're talking about ground news. If you are a news junkie, a news nerd like I am, they may be the big source for your pure source of all the news you can stand going forward. That's it. We're done. Tuesday, July 13th edition of things you might not have heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne. This thing is staying pretty consistent. We're keeping another 15, 16 minutes. I think we like this the way it's going. I would like more promotion, if you will, but I think this is speedily going well, and we'll do that. So a less than 16-minute show is better than an almost 40-minute show, because I like to ramble. So no more rambling. We're out of here. Join us for more things. We're posting in hot takes and headlines all day long, plus longer features as we have time to get them. Let me know what stories are good for you so we can get more of them out there. Love you. Mean it. See you again. Time a lots on Wednesday.